And then we get into this TBL-2 drawing. So this is something that I kind of skipped over maybe last week or whenever it was. But if we look at this part, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make one drawing that represents this entire, all four of these pieces. And we do that with a tabled drawing. So we have one drawing, and this is really common in industry for parts that are similar in shape, but vary in size. So we have a drawing view that instead of having hard dimensions, has variables. And then in a table, the variables are given, and each row of data in that table is a different part. Yeah, fasteners, you see this in catalogs for fasteners and that sort of thing. The I part, or the content center, where you pick out of the inventor on the assemblies to drop your bolts in, it's actually a part that's configured to make whichever one of these you want. So you pick what size you want, and it just automatically changes to that size. And I'm not saying that you have to build that into your inventor parts on these pieces. I really don't care, but at this point, we'll do that next year in the software classes. But I need you to understand that this is a table drawing. So one drawing is representing more than one parts. Typically, a little better example, maybe I'll show a better example. I think I got a better example. That was in the, so let's look here. This is how these drawings should appear. Get it open. Is it taking so long? You opened it twice. All right, so this is a very similar thing. We've got this bushing, we've got the outside diameter is A, we got the inside diameter is B, we have the thickness as C. So this first column in the table is the part number. So there are three parts represented on this one drawing: B 1001, 1002, 1003. And so to determine which size 1001 is, you have to look at this table and you say that the outside diameter is 2, inside diameter is 1, and the thickness is a half. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's what I need you to do for these four parts. Okay. So if you look at these four parts, does anything jump out at you? Like, are they all exactly the same, or is one different than the others? What's going on? I mean, they're all different sizes, right? They're roughly the same shape. One has a hole that all the rest of them does not. How do you manage that? You have to show the hole, right? You can't have a drawing view that doesn't show the hole and expect somebody to put a hole in there. Does that make sense? So that has to be the part that you draw, that one with the hole, because it's got more features than the others. So the one that shows on your drawing needs to have that hole in the bottom of it. So you make that particular one the size. Later on, we'll get into the advanced pieces of the software. We'll have one part in SolidWorks or Inventor, and you just pick which size you want, and it'll just change the sizes. But for now, I just need you to make a drawing of that one part, top, front, right side. All the dimensions on there is variables. But when you come to the diameter for that hole in the bottom, on the other three parts where that hole doesn't exist, you don't put a number in the table there. You just put a dash, saying there ain't a hole there. So diameter F, dash, or diameter D, whatever it is, dash. And then on your drawing, you would also say, part number 40, 45, 12, G 1125 shown.
So we're gonna have 4 part descriptions or hole descriptions, and then, but one of them it'll have 1 inch diameter. The other will have dashes. Some of that.
Yeah. So if say this one had a hole right here for whatever reason, right? and it had a diameter of, let's say, D, right? Then there would be another column here, it says D, and on this one, it would say, you know,
4 inches.
right.
Yeah.
And then this one would just be dash and dash. Does that make sense? All right, so that's an important topic, and that's going to come into play on your final project, but we're not getting there yet. We'll come back to that, but that's a table drawing. So one of the instructions in the final project is to create a couple of table drawings. So that's what I'm saying. If you don't do that, I deduct points because I want the similar parts on the table drawing. Does that make sense? All right, we'll come back to the final in just a second. All right, moving on down to this one. This is where Christian's got y'all. He's finally got an advantage. He's been suffering this whole time, and now he's got you. Y'all got to use AutoCAD for this one, or it's gonna be miserable. We're gonna create this wiring schematic. All right, and the scale of it really doesn't matter to me. We want it to fit, you know, on a probably a B-size sheet or something like that. But that's really the hardest part about making a decision about starting these things that you don't really have a scale for. If you worked at an industry who made a lot of wiring diagrams, all of these components would be blocks that you just drop in and you connect them together with lines. So it's not like you got to be too cautious about scales. I have given you a list of symbols that would help if you want to use them to get, you know, an approximate scale of what I used to make this one. So this is just each one of those symbols and the exact sizes of everything. And if there's anything missing, you can just approximate it to be close. You know, I'm not expecting this from you. This is just to help you create the other drawing. So I'm expecting you to create this wiring schematic, and you can use that generic symbol sizes to help you get started with the scale and to, you know, exactly about how to make the symbols. So you're not just all on your own about how to make, you know, how to do it. And it's not that you're married to the exact sizes I've given. It's approximation. You can just kind of do your own thing. What I do want to see is that these components that are the same thing, I want them to be exactly the same everywhere. I don't want one looking wildly bigger than the other one or different, you know, we need to be professional and quality so that we use the same symbols. Even if the values change, the symbols are the same. You can see all these resistors have different resistance values, but the symbols are exactly the same. We're just changing the label. And I do expect all these labels to be on here. So this is one that you are going to want to do in AutoCAD. You will not like this at all if you try to do this in Inventor because it's all going to be a single 2D sketch and it's going to be miserable. Don't do it. This is an AutoCAD project. Does everybody understand what I'm saying there? Think so? All right. Let's get to the final project. There's no reason y'all shouldn't go in and get started on that as soon as you can. So, you know, again, always take a look at this rubric. We're going to make orthographic views. That's the top, front, right. Hidden lines, center lines, all that. We're going to do an exploded assembly view. And we're going to have, you know, maybe there's some surface textures, maybe, you know, whatever we got to have annotation wise, we'll have dimensioning and bill of materials. So this is actually the project here. And I want you to, I'm not going to read through the instructions, but in short, I'm wanting you to make a single drawing sheet, either A or B size for all of the individual parts listed in this table. Okay. And you need to give each part a unique part number, whether it's 1, 2, 3, I don't care what it is, but each part needs to have a unique number, each different part. You know, the jaws or fingers, maybe there's 2 of those or whatever, but so another thing that I want to point out that gets overlooked a lot is that there's some knobs and there's some handles that they're very similar. They're just different sizes. That's where we're going to use those table drawings we were talking about a few minutes ago. So 2 of these drawings out of this list will be a table drawing that has 2 parts on it. It's only 2 parts on each drawing, but there's 2 knobs and there's 2 handles. So what I'm talking about is part 7's 1 knob, part 8's another knob, very similar. They're just different sizes, different holes, different sizes. 1 drawing, both knobs, table dimensions. We look at the handle pieces on down here a little further. We got part 16 and part 17. It's just a rod, a bar with threads on the end of it. Different sizes, different threads. Similar, but we'll put that information in a table that's different. We'll make a drawing of one, table the other. You will need to actually make, both parts because you're going to need to put both parts in your assembly. But in the drawing, you're only going to show one and use a table for the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you'll have to make all the parts to make an assembly. We've got standard parts here in this list right here. I do not want drawings on a sheet for these standard parts. These are things you buy right off the shelf. I don't need a drawing of that. However, I do need it to be in your assembly, and I do need all this to be listed in your bill of materials for the assembly. Because whenever I make this 2-handed puller, I got to know to buy all these pieces. Does that make sense? Now, I have given you the standard parts in this zip file. I will have to make sure that the AutoCAD stuff's in there too, Christian, because I don't know, they may not be, but I will get them there if they're not. I'll double check today and get started on that right away. I don't want anybody burning their time making those standard parts. Those are things you could get some of that out of the content center, but no, what happens when you go from the content center at home to the content center here?
You're gonna have to do it here.
It's a mess. Has anybody else encountered that? Has anybody started an assembly with content center at home and come here and try to open it and it flip out?
Don't do it.
Yeah, it will flip out because the path to the content center here is different than the path to the content center on your computer. And the inventor just stores the link to one or the other. And when it can't find one of them, it just flips out and causes all kinds of chaos. So
Well, that's SolidWorks too, right?
that's all of them. Yeah, that's all of them. That's not really an inventor shortcoming. It's just a shortcoming of working with 2 different content centers.
Basically, finish where you start.
Finish where you start if you have to do that. But in this case, I've actually got individual part files that you can download and use and just put it in your folder with everything else and it should be fine.
Well, the flip side to that would be download the content and save it as a.
You could
file
download.
in that.
There's still
It's a
some,
little work.
yeah, there's still some little weird nuances that you may have to address with that, but that is another play. Yeah, that is another play. It's still, there's some hardcore coding in those catalog parts that has to be dealt with a little bit. We'll try to get into that a little bit later on in next year, but so, that's what I'm asking from you for the rest of the year. And, even though the rest of the year sounds like it's a long ways out, it's really not, especially when you look up there at the board and you can see the days that I'm personally not going to be here, which is going to start this Thursday, the 4th. So there's a thing at Cersei I have to go to. So I'm out this Thursday. I do encourage you guys to, continue working, whether that's here or at home or somewhere. You really don't have time to just take the day off, especially if you're not caught up. Don't take the day off. Work hard because you are quickly running out of time. I'll be back next week, the 9th and the Thursday, and then the following Tuesday on the 16th, I'll be out at Hot Springs for the Skills USA, and that's something that you guys might want to start thinking about. Our students are eligible to compete in the architectural drafting contest in Skills USA. So that'll be Revit and the architectural stuff. You'd be prepared to do that next spring for sure. On the 23rd, which is the following Tuesday, I won't be here. I got to go to Missouri somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Not looking forward to that. I got like a 6-hour drive to somewhere in Missouri. But anyway, well, I'm about halfway between St. Louis and Kansas City, so it was a 3-hour drive from any airport, so that makes me drive 6 hours. So anyway, those dates on the board, so I'm not going to be here. I'd like for you to make note of that CAD FAD. That's going to be a Thursday, April the 25th. That date's somewhat tentative, but I think that's where it's going to land. That's going to be the night where I try to get our advisory committee and some industry professionals to come in and try to get, several of the alumni come in, and we play some fun CAD games. So I'd really encourage you guys to come participate in the games. It'll either be, I don't know for sure if I'll have both AutoCAD and Inventor. That's what we've been doing in the past. But I'm gonna try to prepare for both an AutoCAD game and a Inventor game. So the way the games work is you're given a project on the screen and your time to complete the project. And whoever can do it the fastest. Usually there's like 3 rounds. It's kind of progressive. We'll take half the field up to the second round, then get that down to half and see how it goes. We'll have some light snacks, and hopefully it really just gives you guys a chance to mingle with the people that are likely to hire you in this area. So, yeah. So that's what we got left to do. What's anything else that you hadn't got done prior to that? And I promise you, these next few weeks are going to zip by so fast. Please work hard, submit things. I will get caught up on grading this week. It probably maybe Friday, but I will get everything I've got graded, caught up. You'll know exactly where you're at, maybe by the end of the week. Any questions about the stuff? If you get stuck on something, shout out. I'll help you work through it as best I can. I would like to replace the drawings out there on the board, but I do, let's keep it to a B-size sheet. If you've got a B-size drawing you're proud of, I'd like to get it on the board out there with your name on it. And if I put some out there, I'll give some bonus points. If I can't fill it with like everybody, you do multiples. If I got open spots.
5 of one person.
Yeah, I'd rather not be that way, but I would like to fill the board. So I'm going to pull those drawings off, and you can just put yours up there. Just see how you see how that board's covered up there? Just start in one corner and work your way down. And I'll come by after it's full and see who we got and give some bonus points. Sound good?
Well, now the grade affects that though. Like we don't want to put a D up there.
Well, if you turned it in and I graded it, do whatever I said was wrong with it, fix it. Yeah, if I look at it and it's terrible work, I'll probably take it down and give it back to you. But if you just
it'd be funny though, put screwed up on purpose.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll just highlight the ones that are really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put the grade on it right there. Hey, Michael.
We could all make bad ones and just put Garrett on.
Yeah.
What she said, I'll hang it out. Came in right now.
Yeah, you just missed like everything.
Perfect.
We just kind of laid out what we had.